Welcome to our channel. Speaking tabs. Accessibility to music. Today, we will be narrating the tablature of Greensleeves, a traditional English folk song, dating from the late 16th century. The melody is based on an Italian songwriting style and the lyrics are about a rejected lover. Anonymous composer. If you like our work, subscribe to our channel, like and share. Greensleeves. Composer, anonymous. Sheet music with spoken tablature for guitar. Codes for comprehension of the tablature. The first number indicates the strings. The second number indicates the houses. Example, number 10, 1 is string 1. And 0 is the open string. Another example, 23, 2 is the 2 string and 3 is the 3rd fret. Another example, 1.12. 1 is the string, and 12 is the fret. The figures will be spoken simultaneously. If you like our work, subscribe to our channel, leave a like and share. Introduction. Measure, 6/8. First measure. Isolated, quarter note rest. Isolated, quarter note rest. Isolated, 32/8 note. Second bar. Chord, 21 quarter note with 50 quarter note, dotted. Isolated, 23/8 note. Chord, 10 dotted eighth notes with 30 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 11/16 notes. Isolated, 10/8 note. Third bar. Chord, 23 quarter notes with 30 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 28th note. Chord, 30 dotted eighth notes with 63 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 32/16 notes. Isolated, 28th note. Fourth bar. Chord, 21 quarter note with 50 dotted quarter note. Isolated, 32/8 notes. Chord, 32 dotted eighth notes with 50 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 31/16 note. Isolated, 32/8 note. Fifth bar. Chord, 20 quarter note with 60 dotted quarter note. Isolated, 31/8 note. Chord, 42/8 note with 60 quarter note. Isolated, 32/8 note. Sixth bar. Chord, 21 quarter notes with 50 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 23/8 note. Chord, 10 dotted eighth notes with 53 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 11/16 note. Isolated, 10/8 note. Seventh bar. Chord, 21 quarter note with 50 quarter note. Isolated, 23/8 note. Chord, 10 dotted eighth notes with 53 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 11/8 note. Isolated, 10/8 notes. Eighth bar. Chord, 23 quarter notes with 30 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 20/8 note. Chord, 38 notes dotted with 63 quarter notes, dotted. Isolated, 32/16 notes. Isolated, 20/8 note. Ninth bar. Chord, 21 dotted eighth note with 50 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 20/16 note. Isolated, 32/8 note. Chord, 31 dotted eighth note with drag on 32 with 60 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 44/16 notes. Isolated, 31/8 note. 10th bar. Chord, 32 dotted half with 58th note, dotted. Isolated, 42/16 note. Isolated, 53/8 note. Isolated, 50 quarter notes, dotted. 11th bar. Chord, 13 with 21 with 30 with 42 with 53. All dotted quarter notes. Chord, 13 with 21 with 30 with 42 with 53 all eighth notes, dotted. Isolated, 12/16 note. Isolated, 10/8 note. 12th bar. Chord, 23, quarter note with 30 quarter note, dotted. Isolated, 20, eighth note. Chord, 38th note, dotted with 63. Quarter note, dotted. Isolated, 32 16th notes. Isolated, 28th note. 13th bar. Chord, 21 quarter note with 50 dotted quarter note. Isolated, 32, 8th note. Chord, 32, 8th note, dotted with 50 quarter notes, dotted. Isolated, 31, 16th note. Isolated, 32. 8th note. 14th bar. Chord, 20 quarter note with 60 quarter note, dotted. Isolated, 31, 8th note. Chord, 42, dotted quarter note with 60 dotted quarter note. 15th bar. Chord, 13, with 21, with 30, with 42, with 53 quarter notes, dotted. Chord, 13 with 21. With 30 with 42 with 53 dotted 8th note. Isolated, 12, 16th note. Isolated, 10, 8th note. Note, repeat this section before going to the 16th bar. 10th, 6th bar. Chord, 23 quarter note with 30, dotted quarter note. Isolated, 20, 8th note. A chord, 30. 8th note dotted with 63 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 32 16th notes. Isolated, 20, 8th note. 17th measure. Chord, 21, 8th note dotted with 50, dotted quarter note. Isolated, 20, 16th note. Isolated, 32, 8th note. Chord, 31, 8th note. With drag on 32 with 60 dotted quarter notes. Isolated, 44 16th note. Isolated, 31 8th note. Last measure. Chord, 32 dotted quarter notes with 58th notes, dotted. Isolated, 42 16th notes. Isolated, 53 8th note. Isolated, 50 quarter notes.